Hey Professor, I really enjoyed Defence Against the Dark Arts today. Firstly, let me just say that I've always struggled with Defence Against the Dark Arts. Since first year, and until last year, I really hated going to those classes. It isn't my fault that I never grasped the basics back in first year, or that it has taken a lot of help for me to even get an understanding of the subject. Of course it isn't, just take a look at the teachers I've had. For example, in first year, we had Professor... Wow, they must have been terrible if I can't even remember their name. Man, it's like they never even existed. Then we had Professor Quirrell, who I think would have been great if he ever incorporated anything practical into the class. But no, all theory, all the time. It was incredibly boring, especially since I didn't have the basic understanding that a second year should have had for the subject. Besides, without any practical, I never really saw an obvious application for anything we were being taught, so I just quickly forgot it. That man definitely wasn't winning any awards. After him, we had Gilderoy Lockhart, who could have been perfect. Practical experience, good communication skills, and he knew the textbooks inside out. They were actually really good books. I really enjoyed them, but that isn't relevant right now. Anyway, he could have been perfect. He wasn't. That narcissistic fraud couldn't tell the difference between a puffskein and a pixie. And after 2 years of not understanding Defence Against the Dark Arts at all, this certainly wasn't helping. Although, my poetry writing skills definitely did improve in third year. I'll tell you what changed everything though. Last year. To start with, we got Professor Lupin, who everyone agrees was the best Defence Against the Dark Arts teacher we've ever had. Honestly, the lessons were fun, interesting, and I learnt so much. The only downside was that we got Professor Snape once a month because Professor Lupin was a werewolf. But even that was manageable, especially since the times when we didn't have Professor Snape were just so interesting and great. Oh, it was wonderful. Although, a werewolf with the name Lupin? That's just weird. But that wasn't all that changed last year. No, in exchange for Charms help every Tuesday, Sam agreed to help me with Defence Against the Dark Arts every Thursday. Since purebloods get creepy home tutoring, those are not my words. Sam is exceptional at Defence Against the Dark Arts. And all of the help I got last year finally brought my understanding of the subject up to a satisfactory level. And Sam's continued to keep up with it this year. I mean, I don't necessarily need it, but it is our OWL year, and so I'm going to take all the help I can get. Besides, I really enjoyed those study sessions with Sam last year. They were really fun. And I'm so grateful that they were even offered to me. Anyway, skip forward to last Wednesday and we were facing our very first lesson with Professor Moody, the new Defence Against the Dark Arts teacher. And no one really knew what to expect. Throughout this week, every single teacher has started off their lessons with a big speech about how important this year is going to be, since we have owls and they're going to shape our entire future and all that. Professor Moody didn't do that. He turned around and said that exams are only going to get you so far, and so it's way more important to learn how to defend yourself. He then proceeded to give us a lesson on popular curses and jinxes, some of them used in the war against you-know-who. There was some really brutal stuff in there too, but he didn't hold back. And today's lesson was exactly the same. How great is that? It was like... well, it was like a conversation with Sam. Some of the things you hear you don't necessarily want to, but it's really interesting, and you know you're not being treated like some defenceless little creature that needs to be protected. You're being treated like an equal. You're being respected. And oh, Merlin, do I love that. Professor Moody doesn't hold back because we're children. Because he knows we can handle it. We're not first years anymore. We shouldn't have information kept from us. I'm sorry, but teenagers are more durable than you'd like to believe, and I bloody appreciate Professor Moody for acknowledging that. In fact, I wonder... I have to send a letter to my mom.